In late December, the EU Commission, on 2 consecutive days, made 2 fundamental determinations around 2 different industries. One was the steel industry and the UK's participation in the emissions trading scheme. Another one related to financial services, which I won't bore you with the detail of that. But what the Commission did in 2 consecutive days, it said, right, as far as, so remembering we're still within the European Union in late December, the dates were around the 18th, 19th, 20th of December. We're still a member of the European Union, but we, the Commission, unelected, appointed representatives, we will decide on 2 consecutive days that for the purposes of emissions trading, the UK is a third country and outside the scheme, which had a negative implication, significantly negative implication for British Steel because they needed to secure a loan of over 100 million from the government. And on the following day, it pursued a policy to say that the UK was a third country, but was deemed to be equivalent. So this is the Commission deciding on 2 consecutive days 2 completely different policies. And those policies were purely to look after their own interests. Why this is so important is that, and this is why we pursue a clean Brexit, because Simon's already touched on the backstop. The other 584 pages of the withdrawal agreement is even worse. Under the implementation or transition period, for the entire duration of that period, potentially in perpetuity, we are going to be subject to EU regulations and we have no seat at the table. That is the craziest thing any country could ever possibly do. And I have seen directly in financial services, which is where I spend most of my time, the EU is deliberately developing regulations to undermine British industry. Financial services, they are pursuing regulations to weaken the City of London, and they've had done exactly the same thing with British Steel, with how they adjusted British Steel's participation in the emissions trading scheme. This is real stuff, jobs being removed from this country, undermining the industrial and economic framework of this country, and the withdrawal agreement wants us to accept those terms in perpetuity. That is the craziest thing anybody could ever do. It's a bit like asking anybody here, would you ever sign an employment contract that didn't give you the right to give notice? Nobody in their right mind would ever do that, and that is what the withdrawal agreement requires.